Is there any like open
Recording
source?
is on.
Sorry, I missed that.
No, I was going to say, is there any open source like Dropbox alternative? But don't worry about it. Carry on with the show.
Yeah, there is. You can use Nextcloud and stuff like that, but I think it's a matter of if Jitsi integrates with it or not. But yeah, so anyways, we're doing our learning Bitcoin and design call number. I don't remember. I haven't been keeping track, but so we didn't really have any like big questions to tackle this week. So what I proposed in the Slack was just that we talk about one of these issues that's open, because there's been kind of some good discussion going on there, and Nagashi here and the Jitsi with us posted some content to try and tackle one of these issues. And then Bosh has also been doing some work on not specifically this issue, but on like a topic that's related, which is LSPs. So I thought this would be a good time to we could go look at these in progress additions to the guide and discuss them and all of that. So first off, thank you, Magashni, for submitting this. I think this is probably this might be like your first commit, I think, right?
Absolutely, my first commit. So I really appreciate the fact that you guys just jumped in and commented. Really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. So here's what I got right here. Actually, I think when I was just talking there, I think I actually had the wrong tab open, but same basic topic. So this was the issue right here. This is one that Steve raised about Lightning channel reserve. Basically, you searched the guide trying to find information about channel reserve and couldn't find anything. So started talking about trying to add some content with this. We talked about channel reserve a little bit on one of the earlier Learning Bitcoin calls. We kind of looked at it in FigJam and all of that. And then Magashni posted some sample text. There's also a Google Drive version right here. So I think it should be the same text, but this is probably a little bit easier to leave comments in line and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know where we should start. Maybe do we want to try splitting this up and reading it together? I can take the first paragraph here, and if somebody wants to take the next two paragraphs, that would be good. So I guess this would go somewhere in the guide, and I guess we would need to figure out exactly where it would go. But what is a channel reserve? The Bitcoin protocol suggests that it is always important to keep some reserve. This is often called the channel reserve. It is an amount that will be held in a channel. Let's say a user opens a channel and puts in 100,000 sats. When they want to make payments, they will then only have access to X minus Y, the amount they added to the channel, minus 1% minimum of the total channel value. As an example, if the total channel value is 200K sats, 1% of this is 2,000 sats. So this is the amount that will automatically be held as a reserve. The user opens a channel, puts in 100,000 sats, and we now need to calculate what amount they would actually have access to make payments with, and that would be 100,000 sats minus 2,000 sats equals 98,000 sats. For users, we can imagine that they would now question why, when they put in 100,000 sats into a channel, that only 98,000 sats would then be available for them to use. Also, according to the Bitcoin protocol, the channel reserve must be greater than or equal to the dust limit. Dust limit as of today is 354 sats. Okay. Would anybody else like to pick up from here?
I can pick up, yeah. Why do we have a channel reserve? A channel reserve works as a type of insurance against theft. If a peer tries to cheat in a channel, then the other party can submit a penalty transaction. This transaction will then take away all the funds from the other user channel. Having the channel reserve in place that there are funds available to take away should this occur. Sorry, I'm not understanding the last sentence. Having the channel reserve in place that there are funds available to take away should this occur.
I see that there's a word missing. Having the channel reserve in place ensures that there are... Oh, the word ensures is missing.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. All right, good.
I'm gonna like
I
leave
can
a comment. Oh, apparently I can just edit. Oh, okay, how about that?
Oh, super cool.
All right, cool.
I can read the next one.
Okay.
This little bit was more about comments that were made by Christoph, because he kind of brought in a few other things to make me think about. Effect of channel reserve on users. If a user finds a channel and they're unable to spend the full amount that they've put into the channel, this can be confusing to them. From a UX standpoint, we would need to consider the following: adding funds. Ensure that the user is educated when they're adding funds so that they know that a small amount will be held as a reserve. Then he also mentioned multiple channels. If a user has 20 plus channels and their locked reserve will be 20 times that amount. And then with onboarding, during the onboarding, when a user opens their first channel and when trying to send, and then try to send all their funds. Below are some suggested screen states as how this can be done to be added.
Yeah, and so then there could be like pictures, you could take, rip some stuff from the Bitcoin UI kit and make some mock-up screens and all of that like for some kind of sample messaging for the user. So I think, Bosh and I both pointed out that, probably in this context, we probably want to say Lightning Protocol for the channel reserve thing. One thing that kind of popped out to me is I tend to like this mathematical way of expressing ideas. It might be good to, like, before just jumping into an equation, like maybe say this before somehow, like if we're going to say x plus y, if we haven't previously defined what x minus y, like what x or y is, it might be good. I'll leave a comment about that. Now, some of what I think Bosh was talking about in this one, he left some comments on GitHub here. Wait, I'm on the wrong tab again, sorry. So he left some comments down here about, this idea that what if channel reserve isn't necessary for like Lightning nodes running on mobile devices? And I guess we try and like distill this down real quickly here. Like, on one, there's like this idea that, like, obviously it's like a challenging experience for the user when you tell them that there's they don't have full access to all their funds. Some of it isn't immediately spendable because it's locked in a channel reserve. It can also be problematic, just like some of the stuff that Magashi was talking about later on down in her comments about, like, well, what if they have multiple channels? 20 channels means 20 times that amount. So there's always definitely complicated situations. But like for a mobile spending wallet, a lot of times they're getting their liquidity from just from a single Lightning service provider. Like, I think like Blixt is obviously trying to funnel people into using Dunder. When you download Breeze Wallet for the first time, pretty much all of your channels are going to go through Breeze, and so it's not the same situation as somebody running like a routing node for a business. So it's kind of like, I guess what he's trying to say is there's a little bit of trust that you might need to have with the LSP. You could assume that the LSP wants to have this ongoing business relationship, or else they wouldn't open channels with people. So that it just, in the interest of user experience, maybe the LSP doesn't, and the wallet that the user is using, maybe they don't mandate a channel reserve in this situation, just because when you're already kind of using the LSP to get most of your liquidity, they're going to lose a lot of customers if they start cheating on channel closing transactions, right? So there's that idea. I guess another idea is that, like, let's say there's this other kind of problem with mobile phones, which is that when you put the phone in your pocket, the lightning node, it goes offline. So it's not connected to, it's not actively connected to the lightning network when you turn the phone off, and or just when you put it to sleep and put it in your pocket. And that's an issue with mobile lightning nodes, because and so there's like, even if let's say the channel partner tries to cheat on the mobile lightning node, the phone would have no way of knowing when it's disconnected and asleep in your pocket or your purse. So phones, like, I guess if you really wanted to keep a mobile lightning wallet secure, you would need to have a watchtower, which would basically be this kind of third party computer, could be in the cloud or something like that. Maybe it's a device you run at your home, or maybe it's just a third party service you rely on, but it kind of watches the lightning channel while your phone is asleep and makes sure that no one is trying to pull a fast one on you. And so it's kind of like, if the user is going to need a watchtower or something anyways, then do they even really need the channel reserve balance? Does it really help them out in this situation? Which I know is like kind of it sounds like kind of the opposite of it. I don't know. It sounds strange at first, but once you start to think about the fact that the watchtower might be necessary, it's that might actually be a simpler solution. So I want to start like looking a little bit at what he's working on, but I kind of want to just like stop talking for a second here and open it up and get some other kind of thoughts from the room here, or questions or anything.
Sorry, Stephen, could you explain again? I haven't had a chance to read this comment that Bosh made, but could you explain again how Bosh said that the instance that a channel reserve is not relevant? That's if someone has a watchtower?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me pull out the exact. So he kind of starts off here, so saying that basically, in his opinion, channel reserves are something that only non-mobile node operating users have to deal with. So in other words, he's saying you shouldn't have to deal with channel reserve if you're running a mobile lightning wallet, like one on your phone, right? And saying that they're mostly aren't necessary because you're using a lightning service provider, and there might be some degree of trust implicit in that relationship. And he then goes on to kind of like describe these like kind of counter arguments to his own point. Couldn't the mobile node kind of cheat on the lightning service provider without anything at stake? And he's arguing, well, no, the LSP couldn't be harmed by that, because the LSP is going to be this business kind of running a lightning node that's going to be on all the time, and they're not, the LSP is not at any risk of being harmed. And then it's kind of like, well, what about the LSP kind of cheating on the person with the mobile phone? And he's saying that, look, if users have the option to use a third-party watchtower that's not affiliated with the lightning service provider, then that can prevent the LSP from harming them and taking their funds. And then his kind of other kind was, well, what if a user manually opens a channel? And then I think his point is kind of like, well, at this point, you're dealing with an advanced user. Someone kind of like what we're targeting with the Blix design sprint, right? And so it's like, well, if you're dealing with an advanced user, then you need to take these kinds of considerations into account right here. About these are all the considerations that need to be taken into account when you're dealing with this more kind of advanced user.
Cool. Very nice.
Let me ask you this: is everybody on here? Is anybody on here like not familiar with what a watchtower is?
I'm not familiar with what a watchtower is.
So let me go and sorry.
Yeah, I
Were you
just
gonna say
said.
something? I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say I would appreciate if you explain the Watchtower.
Yeah, this is the Learning Bitcoin and Design call. So I'll go ahead and say, let me just create a fake jam for today, and I will open it up here, and I'll paste it in the chat here. We could do our like usual kind of jam. And Steven is in this Figma twice. Let me exit out of it in my other window. Okay, so basically the idea with Watchtower is that like, so let's say over here you have, let's just say for simplicity, Bitcoin blockchain, right? And then down here, I'm going to say mobile phone with a Lightning wallet. And, ooh, can I make this gray? Yeah, that way it'll feel like a mobile device if it's gray. And then we're going to say LSP, Lightning Service Provider, with extremely well-connected Lightning node. And I'll make them blue. And so this idea is that we see the mobile Lightning node and the LSP, they form a channel, as we've been talking about on so many times. They form a Lightning channel so that they can make payments back and forth and all of that. And, obviously the LSP is connected to other nodes. I'm just going to hope you can imagine that one right now. But so they've got this payment channel open between them. And kind of like we've talked about in previous calls, obviously every payment channel begins and every payment channel ends with an entry on the Bitcoin blockchain. And also kind of like another point we've talked about on other calls is this idea that any kind of Bitcoin wallet needs to have visibility to what's going on the blockchain. Like it needs to know, like if it's an on-chain wallet, it needs to know how much money it has. If it's a Lightning wallet like this one, it needs to be able to tell if the channel is still open. So both of these have to be able to look at the blockchain. So I'll draw like a little connecty line to them. You put the phone in your pocket, let's say, and turn it off. And once you have put the phone to sleep, it's no longer checking the blockchain. So it is completely disconnected. And like, let's say the LSP was trying to, or just anyone, whatever Lightning node it's connected to, let's say the Lightning node that their channel partner tries to do something bad, like close the channel in an improper way and take money that doesn't belong to them, right? So if that happened and, let's say they didn't open the app for 2 weeks. Well, during that 2-week period, a lot of stuff could have happened on the blockchain and your channel partner could have, taken some money from you, and that's not good. So the idea of the Watchtower, so like, one solution to the problem, let's explore the obvious solution, which is to just keep the phone on all the time and just like keep it constantly connected. And it's like, that starts to become a little bit ridiculous because like, can you just imagine if your phone is just on all the time? Like if the screen is on all the time, it's just kind of reductio ad absurdum. It doesn't make sense, right? So then imagine, okay, what if I had the phone, like what if I made the phone kind of like wake up every once in a while and check the blockchain? Well, again, that would be kind of annoying because it's kind of like this, does that become a battery issue if your phone is just constantly checking the Bitcoin network while it's in, your purse all day or whatever, right? So the kind of like solution is you introduce this like thing called a Watchtower, and let me give this one a different color. And the idea is that this is going to be like some kind of, a third party or, or whatever. Like some people run Watchtowers out of their home. They might have a Raspberry Pi that's a Watchtower or something, and they act as a Watchtower for their own phone or for their friends. Or maybe you could imagine in the future that the Watchtower is like a service. It's kind of like you almost see it as like an insurance policy, just to make sure that nothing bad happens to your money. The idea is that the Watchtower is constantly watching the blockchain, and if something bad happens, if there's something you need to know about, they send a push notification. Maybe it's a text message, right? Maybe it's just something as simple as that. Text message alert. And it's like, hey, this is a message from your Watchtower service. Just to let you know, you need to open up your Lightning wallet and check to make sure everything's okay. So that would be like the basic gist of a Watchtower. And like right now, I think that Watchtowers are a little bit kind of bleeding edge. Like they're not, I don't know of any Watchtower services that are easily usable to a normal user. I do believe that one day they're going to be an important part of the Lightning ecosystem, but I don't think they're kind of, it's new tech right now. But like as an example, like if you go to the Spiral website, there's one of the ones that projects that they fund is this thing called Eye of Satoshi. And you can, it's like I think it's this one Talia watch or something like that. I've never actually set it up on my own, but so it's, here, they've got like a little website. Let's look at that. It's probably more interesting to look at than a GitHub page for everyone. So they have some kind of general information about it here. Again, it's very kind of new technology, and it's not like the kind of thing where I don't think that there's really been like a pleasing, front end for Watchtowers developed yet. But I think that the technology will probably be important one day. So that's the general gist. I guess let me just delete that, and then before I shut up, the general idea is that, you see, I just deleted that line here. It makes it so that this phone here doesn't constantly have to be checking the Bitcoin blockchain. And that's the gist of it.
So, Stephen, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So not all wallets have a Watchtower.
Mm-hmm.
So if it doesn't have a Watchtower, then there should be a channel reserve so that the user has some sort of protection.
I would say, let me think if I would boil it down like that. I think the risk is, like, let me think about the risks there for a second. So if, let's say it's a mobile Lightning wallet like this, there is no channel reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in theory, that would protect the user. I believe that. I believe it would. Like it does. It creates that incentive for the channel partner to not do anything malicious. The problem with it is if we run into that situation where somebody puts the app in their pocket and they don't, like they put the phone in their pocket and they don't open that wallet app for 2 weeks, it doesn't matter if there's any channel reserve or not. Like if they go a 2-week period without opening the app, there's the risk that something bad could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like at that point, it's like, and even if there is a channel reserve, there's a risk that something bad could happen if they were to go 2 weeks without opening the app. So at that point, it's like, well, which is more valuable? Is it more valuable to kind of create this, I don't know, blemish, whatever you want to call it, on the user experience with having to have the channel reserve that only protects them for some of the time? Or do you want to just take away that consideration, make it more frictionless, and really instead try to solve the problem of how to actually keep them protected from a bad channel partner? I don't know. That might be a more complicated answer than you were looking for.
Yeah, because then if they say like they have the channel reserve and they think that they're protected, but as you said, they switch their phone off for 2 weeks and they come back and they see that something goes wrong, then they could come back to the wallet developer and be like, well, what's happened? I've not been protected as you said I would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So I think we definitely need this channel reserve guidance that you're writing in the guide.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm getting at is that I think we should also consider also having this discussion when we talk about channel reserve guidance of like not viewing it as a total ultimate protection that's going to protect the user in all situations. I think an ideal situation for me would be that the user has a watchtower and failing that, maybe there's a channel reserve or something like that. But I would see like probably the watchtower as being the better form of protection.
Yeah. And then that showing in the onboarding process.
Sorry, what was that?
And then that may be like educating them in the onboarding process to have a watchtower.
Yeah. I wonder how to do it. And that's the thing. It's like, it's so hard to, because it's like, there's no way to know exactly where the industry is going. I mean, like if you look at like the early web and like where people thought the internet would be in 10 years, it ended up way different. And it's like, I almost wonder, should a wallet, like, should it come with a recommended watchtower? Like, should it come with a watchtower like pre-configured? And then that raises the question of like, well, is if the watchtower is like kind of like partnered up with the wallet, then how do you know that they're not like, evil collaborators or something to that effect? So then it's like, well, does the user like choose their own watchtower? And how many watchtowers are there available to choose from? And does it cost them money to use a watchtower?
Yeah, suggested watchtowers. These are our suggested watchtowers. Feel free to choose your own.
Yeah, I mean that seems like probably that's probably what it would be, something like that. Here's our suggested ones, but choose your own, sort of thing. So I don't know. But I tell you what, if nobody has, sorry, what were you going to say?
I think Roz wanted to speak.
Yeah, so it's a good explanation. I kind of understand its purpose there. Would you be able to I guess what I'm not understanding is how it's kind of preventing a malicious party. Is it just informative? Like, does it just inform the mobile user that something may have gone wrong, or how would it prevent something bad from happening?
That's a good question. So, I mean, these are early days. So the thing to keep in mind is that all of this could change. I think right now, I want to say it's more of an informative thing, which is still a very helpful thing because, again, like I said, your channel partner can perform, a malicious action if you're not watching the blockchain. And that whole problem stems from, the partner, your node going offline, being disconnected from the internet or being disconnected from the Bitcoin network, right? So the problem can easily be solved. Like if the channel partner tries to do something bad, you can easily fix the problem just by turning the app back on. And these Lightning node software packages are pretty smart. Like if you're, it's not the kind of thing usually where the user has to take manual action. I mean, if your Lightning node sees your channel partner trying to cheat on you, I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure most of the Lightning node implementations will automatically submit a justice transaction if they see your channel partner trying to cheat. I can't verify.
Okay,
I guess I would need to verify that. But so you could solve that just by turning the phone back on. As soon as you get this text message that says, "Hey, something's going wrong. You need to check your balance," phone would turn back on, and it'll be like, bloop. Oh, now I'm reconnected. Then you can broadcast your justice transaction and hopefully display the best possible messaging to the user to explain to them that, woo, your funds are safe. But now, having you asked, well, could it do something more proactive? I've heard people talk about this kind of stuff. I don't know offhand how to do this, but I've heard of people doing stuff like building software tools where they're like, hey, I'm using my node as a watchtower for my friend, and my friend is using their node as a watchtower for me. And like, if we share channel state with each other, then, my friend could, broadcast the justice transaction on my behalf and all that kind of stuff. So from a technical perspective, I don't see any reason why you couldn't design a watchtower to actually be very proactive and actually like actively protect you. I don't know right now if that's a feature that's ready to ship and go into production, but it seems at least feasible.
Okay, that's a very good explanation. I guess that's why there's that kind of time frame of 1 day for the justice transactions, if I remember correctly. That's kind of seemed to me arbitrarily, so to give it time to pretty much reconnect. And
I'm not sure about the 1 day thing. I think the one I always know of is the 2 week one. There's all kinds of time stuff, so I might be thinking of something different than. But there's actually this hold on the justice transaction, like in the transaction, where like if the LSP tries to, or any channel partner tries to maliciously close using an outdated channel state, they have to wait 2 weeks before they can actually claim the funds, and that's to give it time so that this node right here actually has basically time. It has that kind of 2 week interval to which it can dispute the transaction, broadcast a justice transaction, and all of that.
Okay, makes sense. Can I ask another question, actually?
Yeah.
The nodes themselves on the Lightning Network, they're incentivized by some small fees. Is that correct?
Yeah, routing fees.
Now, the Watchtowers, should they require to be, well, it's hardware that would need to be connected at all times.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you wondering what the incentive would be for them?
Yeah, kind of, because I guess they would just run at a loss. So I guess they would need to be maybe somehow connected to some of the Lightning nodes.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, like, if you're running a home Lightning node off of a Raspberry Pi, I can't remember what the exact, estimates are, but it's like, I want to say the estimate is like $30. Is it $30 a year or $100 a year or something like that? Just when you're calculating up the energy cost of it or whatever. And then you got to imagine like, but that's like, if you're making money off routing fees, that's probably good. Then you got to imagine for like a business, maybe it's, really, really big Lightning node with tons of channels. And, maybe this thing costs like $500 to run. But, sometimes when you're running business level infrastructure, these computing costs rack up, but it's a business expense, right? So I'm just pulling these. I'm just kind of making up that number. I don't really know for sure. I'm just estimating based on having touched cloud computing before. Watchtower, I don't know exactly what the cost would be to run a Watchtower, and I gotta say, like, one area in which the Watchtower incurs significantly less cost is that they don't actually have to have all this Bitcoin sitting on this computer. Like they're not necessarily opening Lightning channels from the Watchtower. It's just kind of a computer that sits there connected to the internet, kind of checking the blockchain. So in theory, the Watchtower could actually be very low power and could be an incredibly efficiently run device. I mean, you could imagine, you know, if this lightning node appears, just like has to, well, I don't know. I guess it does have to really think about a lot of lightning channel state. So I guess it does have to juggle a lot of stuff in memory. I guess I don't know, what the cost is to maintain something like this. You know, it's like, I think they're probably not going to have routing. Like one way you could do it is maybe every watchtower is a lightning node. Maybe every lightning node runs Watchtower software on it. And so then it's like you're kind of, different lightning nodes are like, oh, I'll be a Watchtower for you. You be a Watchtower for me. And so it's kind of like the Watchtower just becomes this like extra service they're running on top of their lightning node. Another thing could be, maybe it's actually a service you pay a fee for. Like I, for like websites I manage and stuff, I have to have like an uptime monitor. And it's like a service that's basically constantly pinging my servers, making sure that they're okay, there's no error messages on the home pages, all that kind of stuff, and get a text message if it goes down. Then I pay a fee for that, and the fee that I pay for that is less than the cost of downtime to me. So there's consumer surplus there. So maybe if you just think of a watchtower as like an insurance policy, maybe they're just incentivized. Maybe they just charge a flat fee. Or like a monthly fee or something like that. I don't know. Another thought is like, maybe it's like, again, something you run in your home, and maybe the device is so easy and it's just got this like, industrial design that's befitting of Apple or Square, and it's just this super simple device that just, you set next to your TV and it blends in with all your other decor and connects to your Wi-Fi, and then checks out the Bitcoin blockchain, and then you pair your phone with it or whatever, and it just sits there and runs in your house. I mean, maybe that's it. I don't know. I have no idea. That's a long way of saying I don't know the answer to your question. I'm sorry.
No, but it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I strive to give honest answers and spur people's thinking instead of just laying down exactly what it's going to be, because we're all early. Well, if nobody has any like questions or ideas on that, I might look at what this pull request that we have going on in here. Would everybody okay talking about this for a little bit? It's kind of a related topic.
Yep.
I have just one question.
Yeah.
I heard that from some people that channel reserve was a scam. Have you heard that before? And if so, would you be able to explain?
I have not heard that before.
Okay.
Ooh, this could get spicy.
I mean, it's just like I've been like on this Blix chat, and I mean, I'm not gonna say, okay, I have to recheck that again, but I think Empress said like channel reserve, like it's sort of, it's a scam and it's like not needed and blah blah blah. So I was wondering if you heard that before.
I haven't, but I think I have. I think I have in the Slack. I think he did mention that he wasn't a fan of Lightning Channel Reserve in the Slack. And yeah, I don't want to like elaborate on his viewpoint too much, since I'm not entirely sure of it. If I had to imagine, I would say that it probably is some of the similar kind of things we're saying here about how like it may not fully protect the user, so why pretend that it's going to? I haven't actually ever personally heard anybody call it specifically a scam, so that's interesting. So I'm not sure if that was just a joke or if there's actually like a thought behind that. So yeah, I'd be curious to learn about that.
Yeah, me too. I'll ask. I like some people just to get like other opinions.
yeah, at this point, my kind of thinking is that I'm like, well, I don't see it as a scam, but I'm like, I am starting to question, is it useful in every situation?
Yeah.
Well, so this pull request right here, I think Bosh had mentioned it when he was commenting on Magashni's work here, and this has been an open PR for a while because it's really it's a topic that we haven't really covered in the guide before. It's Lightning services, and I think a lot of the work we were doing adding Lightning to the guide was taking existing content and trying to just kind of lightningify it, figure out how to reframe the existing content for Lightning. But this is like, there's not really an analogy to this for on-chain. So this is very, very new material. And like, if one thing I'll go ahead and say is like, yeah, reviewing pull requests is always helpful, just like looking at what other people are doing and providing feedback on their work. So if you're new to working on the guide, so like this was an issue obviously over here that Magashni is commenting on. I'm over here in the pull requests tab now, which is where someone's actually tried to change the code to the guide, and we're discussing it to get it merged. So we can see all the code that has been changed over here. And like, this is a really good way of looking at it. I mean, this can be overwhelming if you're not used to looking at website stuff, but over here we can look at like the exact lines and like the content that was added. But then usually in the description, just to kind of be polite to each other, we'll put a link to the deploy preview. So like there's this little thing down here. It automatically generates like a preview of what the website's going to look like. And we can get to it from this link down here, the details link. So we usually just copy and put that in the description up here so that we can get it. And it gives you this little deploy preview link. And so he's written some content here about Lightning service providers. And I guess it's been a while since I've really read through this pull request, and I should probably give it another read through when I'm not on this call and send him some feedback. But yeah, we keep talking about these things, LSPs. So this would be a page that would talk about that. And I think like pay to open, just to provide some context, like, Millie, you and I were talking about Blix the other day. We were talking about Dunder LSP and how to guide the user into Dunder LSP. Well, this would be an example of that right here. And it looks like actually he's got Dunder like mentioned down here. So this is an example of pay to open.
Interesting.
When user pays to have a channel with inbound receiving liquidity. So this is that flow we were looking at yesterday. That's like the user wants to be able to receive Bitcoin, so they need a channel open to them. So the LSP is going to open a channel to them and kind of chart, but the user pays a fee in order to have that channel open.
Mm-hmm.
When users of your application are not experienced enough to manage their payment channels, if your application runs by Lightning nodes and not operate dedicate 20% Lightning node, if you use it directly.
So one analogy. Hey guys.
Oh, hey, dude.
Hey, nope.
It was you the whole time.
Of course.
I totally caught him when I was on early. He was also on early, and he changed his name within the speed of light. As soon as you saw me come on, it was like a flash, like a half a second. He changed his name. It was so funny, man.
Hey, I'm supposed to be the privacy guy, right? So.
And I need to start like crashing Bitcoin design calls with like a pseudonym identity. This sounds like so much fun. Anyways, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Yeah, so there are some wallets, especially like Coinjoin wallets, which sometimes want to do some activity in the background, like background coin joins and stuff. And they have a different kind of fee market within them. So that's like Join Market or Wasabi. We have these like collaborative transactions, right? Where it's a transactions that's created on chain with like a whole bunch of people. Now, one of the design decisions for Wasabi 2, it's this automatic coin joins happening in the background because they want to give like privacy by default. Not mentioning any of the recent events here, but anyway. So one thing that we were exploring with Yuval Krugman, nothing much, is to have like the fees in these CoinJoin applications, they tend to be quite opaque because then, like how do you calculate the amount of privacy you've gained, right? Oftentimes it looks like this kind of like ambiguous amount, right? So there's this idea where you could have these kind of like these pending operations, which you can have scheduled out ahead of time, and when the fee market gets appropriate, then it will be able to like broadcast those transactions. Of course, this isn't for things that you need like just in time, right? But what this mechanism will start to or could enable people to do is to, one, have a bit more control over the fees that they're spending on chain, right? And you can imagine also some kind of reserve balance, like a fee reserve balance, in which you say that you're willing to spend this amount in fees for this period of time, and then your wallet could start to intelligently determine or try to make some predictions of like when the fee market is going to be appropriate, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this, of course, is like a bit more bleeding edge, but we are getting into bleeding edge territory, as you mentioned, Stephen. So yeah, I just wanted to like highlight that. The other thing, there might be services that you may want to pay for that you would have kind of like some reserve balances for. That you may want to set aside to say like these things are definitely going to be like scheduled to pay or something. And the reason I'm like adding like explaining all these things, because the design pattern that we would end up creating also relates to these things, right? Could be on chain, this kind of like fee reserve thing for such kind of Coinjoin wallets, or wallets which want to give users more control over just like automatically sending transactions out. They want to do like some batch transactions or something like that, something more intelligent. And also for this channel reserve, potentially it's a similar kind of pattern. Yeah, that's it.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
So that,
Yeah.
That is super cool, Johns. You are on the edge of the edge, so really cool.
Yeah, that's not good at documenting these things.
That was Wasabi?
So Wasabi doesn't have the mechanism to control the fees in this way, but it is something that we were doing some design explorations for, like a couple of years ago.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah, and so like, even though a lot of that stuff that you're describing there is on chain, like, it's good to keep that stuff in mind, because like I wouldn't call any of that a Lightning service, but it's like it's serving a similar kind of function to the user, where it's like you've got this provider that's providing the user with some kind of valuable financial service, and you're trying to do that in as trust minimized a way as possible. So Lightning service provider, they're gonna you're gonna pay to open a channel, or then similarly with a service like Wasabi, you're kind of paying for them to coordinate the coin join for you and all of that. So they're giving you a service and kind of taking a fee. But, and yeah, like as John's pointing out, like the fees aren't always, it's hard to always kind of like map that fee onto what, it's hard to like assign a value to that fee. like you said, how much privacy, like how much privacy did you get from, paying this fee? And I think similar things will kind of happen on Lightning too, where, channels will cost this amount to open sometimes and other amounts to open other times, and you're not sure.
Yeah, and this kind of fee control, we see people doing it, like some more quote unquote power users. We see them doing it quite often in the Bitcoin space. So if you look at Twitter, you'll see some people saying, well, I'm taking advantage of the fee market and I'm closing some old channels, and the fee market on chain being like lower set of transactions that you could check on mempool.space or something. It's like the blocks aren't filling up, the fees are low now, so let me take advantage of this fee market. Now, as designers, I think we could start looking at these patterns and like, not just for like one layer, but like see how they apply in like different aspects of the user experience. So then we can have something like a bit more holistic. Something else, just to share this information. I know you guys are editing soon. Is it okay if I continue?
Yeah.
Are we good?
Sure.
Yeah. So, I was speaking with the folks at Amboss, which have this kind of like analytics, like node analytics product, right? It's getting all these stats and stuff, and helping projects like helping nodes advertise, their availability and whatnot. And I was trying to convince them to, and I think they're pretty much like in line with this. If you start offering some kind of like Watchtower like services, and as a directory as well, how do you start monetizing other people's Watchtower services, right? Well, people need directories, and to access those directories, they need API access. So wallets can now start paying the or the wallet owners can start paying for access to this API. So what that means is like a pay-per-use kind of model. Stephen opened like the paper, what was it? Pay to open. We could have like a pay-per-use model. So every request being made to the API to like list the Watchtowers, or to list the channels that you're like the LSPs or node providers can be paid for. Now, with this kind of like mechanism happening automatically in the wallet, like, if you load, if you refresh the page like a bunch of times, then you're getting charged constantly, right? How do we put control back into the user's hands? Well, then this kind of like fee reserve thing then comes back in, right? Where you say, I have this bucket of funds that this service is able to consume in this amount of time. And then the wallet can again start doing some more intelligent decisions that keep the control into the user's hands and kind of like safeguard against like abuse from the services or even the wallet itself.
Sweet. So yeah, I think the Watchtower as a service thing, now that you mentioned that, John's, like I almost feel like at some point there could be some Watchtower information on the Lightning Services page, which could come later on down the line. I guess, we need to figure out, some of the different business models behind that. I think, too, I was just looking, I don't think there's anything on here on this page about channel reserve, but it sounded in the comments like Bosh was like intending to add something about channel reserve to this page. So what I'd recommend is like we should like Magashni, we should talk about, like we should maybe message Bosh and see kind of what his thoughts were, what exactly he was going to add to his page, and then start thinking about like for the kind of content you've been writing here, what would be the best place in the guide for this.
Sounds good.
I'm leaning towards maybe it should go on like this page somewhere here. I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's also, kind of we're trying to break this down too in the next, like kind of reorganize things a little bit to have more like organizing some of this content more around like fundamental technologies, to separate out all the stuff that we're doing. That's like case studies and onboarding, yada, yada, yada. And just have a section that's like all about the technology that's being used. Maybe that would be a good place for it. So we got to figure that out. But we're about 3 past the hour here. So I think it's probably time to start wrapping up. But hopefully this has been informative for everyone about channel reserve and watchtowers and LSPs and all that good stuff. Any final questions or anything before I kill the recording?
No, I think
I
it's
don't
been
have any.
very informative.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
right, cool.
Don't have any questions as well.
All right. Later, everybody.